Hey guys, what's going on? My name is NONARY. I've been locked inside this year, which means I've played a lot more games than I should have this year. And welcome back! I ranked my top 10 games for 2020, at least updated for the end of this year. We've pretty much done this every year at this point. But coming at number 10, you already see it on the screen, Borb 2. This game, man, it's really good, hence why it's in my top 10. It's not super good. I think there are certainly some levels where it lacks a little bit. But if you want to get my fully expanded thoughts on this, then you should go check out the review. But if you want a condensed version, basically, you got to repaint some buildings. There's little enemies you got to defeat, and the levels rack up a decently long runtime. You'll notice a trend with levels that take a while in this list, as you seem to find out. But it's just good. There's really no other way to say it. The music also phenomenal. The only thing I kind of don't like about the game is that some of the things from the first game, which I thought were cool, just didn't make a return. So some of the mechanics just made it like, oh, I would have definitely pushed up a few ranks. But if we want to talk about games, I don't go further than the NONARY game. Yeah, you're playing a game inside a game here. Not really. To summarise these, it's basically a visual novel with escape room sections spliced in between, and you get to make your choices, which kind of get you a number of different endings. That's basically what I can spoil. Other than that there is multiple endings, because it has such a good story, I never want to spoil it for anyone. Now if you want a brief summary, 9 people trapped either on the Titanic or in some random warehouse, and they basically have to try and find out why they're there and get out. There's a lot of different endings depending on the choices you make, and I think it's really smart. The escape room sections are like nice little fun as well. They're definitely not what I come back for, but hey, I got a world record in speedrunning in this game, so obviously there's something I like about it. Just a shame that I can't spoil what it is, because you should definitely either go buy the game yourself, or watch me play it. It's a bit dated of a let's play, but you know, shh. Anyway, coming at the next one, number 8, Fortnite for both modes. Battle Royale, I think a lot of people just understand that it's nice fun, especially with friends and with the limited time modes that they have in circulation. That mode is just fun. The fact they keep it updating too, definitely, it keeps it feel alive. What I'm here to talk about is the kind of neglected mode, Save the World. It has a really good mix of missions, you've got some where you just need to rescue survivors, gather resources, and there's other ones where, like in the namesake of the game, you got to build a fort to defend an objective. It's good. The dialogue in the game and the main story, it sucks that they're apparently not making any more, but the little side stories that they have in as like part of content updates are really well written. Genuinely, the writers are, they know their memes alright. That sounded really cringe, but a lot of the jokes just land really well. And a lot of it's kind of character-based comedy, which I definitely am a fan of. So yeah, give Fortnite either Battle Royale a go if you lived under a rock for the past year or 3, and definitely give Save the World a go if it sounds like your type of game. It's more like a horde survival shooter than anything else, but personally, I just like it. There's not much else to it than that. But it has a lot to it. Animal Crossing City Folk, a game which has never really left these lists as long as I've done them, and it just holds up all these years later. It feels like a much more complete version of New Horizons, only with certain features missing, but it feels like a lot more complete of a game. I would put New Leaf here. I just have my own gripes with that game, mainly with being too easy. Same thing falls for New Horizons. Those games are kind of too easy, and I think before long you run out of things to do in them. City Folk really doesn't have that problem. You've not got those super advanced metas where it's like I can grind for money to pay off my loan. The life simulation aspect of this really is a lot more slower paced. You can see my episode numbers, it keeps going up. I've only just finished paying off my house. I'm doing my public works things now. That's mainly its biggest strength, the fact it lasts so long, but I think while people have their problems with dialogue repeating too, I think the dialogue is still decent, especially when you see some unique stuff once you really get to know your villagers. It's good, the graphics and soundtrack are really good, especially for a game that's released on the Wii. And I kind of like just everything it includes. I think New Leaf, it had some steps forward, I think it took more back, at least in my personal sense. But one that took everything that came before it and put it into the best game in the series? Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. Yeah, now I will be the first to admit, the story is a lot weaker for me than the NONARY games is, but oh my god does it have twists and turns. Now for those of you that aren't familiar with Ace Attorney, it is a game where you are an attorney, one of 3 in this game, and you kind of have to just defend your client, and god it gets wacky. It has much better gameplay though than the NONARY games, and that's why it's here. By this point in the franchise, they'd introduced so many more interesting things than just presenting evidence dialogue options in the courtroom sections, which made them a whole lot more engaging. I personally think the witnesses in this game are A lot of the cases too. Like, I think this may be the only game in the series where it was like, yep, all the cases there were pretty good. The runtime too, it's such a long game for an Ace Attorney game, but I am not complaining. And that last case too, another thing I can't spoil, but my god is it good. Seriously, it's a lot more engaging than the NONARY games, and I think that kind of makes the story, you know, while weaker, it makes it a lot more feel involved, if that were to be the word I'd use. And yeah, you want to know a game which somehow has a story, and you definitely feel involved in that one? God, that was an awful segue. I'm talking about Payday 2, man. I've been playing the hell out of this game. I'm sure if you saw me on Twitch streaming this, I've been playing it a lot. Now, it has two sides to the game, which is what I really like. You can either be sneaky in this little bank robbing, or it's not just banks you rob, pretty much anywhere robbing game, or you can go in loud. And the music for when you go wild and have to fend off waves of SWAT teams. Oh boy. It's so good. There's so many maps too. A lot of the DLC is locked behind a paywall, but they have it bundled for a reasonably small cost, and they're still releasing new stuff today. God, I want Payday 3, man. It looks so good. And you know, the fact that Payday 2's Twitter man has acknowledged me on occasion, I gotta give it points for that. Seriously though, this game definitely has the ability to make you rage. As I was talking earlier, the runtime of some of these levels is like upwards of half an hour. I think the one casino level, pretty high, and like sneaking around certain maps too definitely takes longer than going loud, but they have their benefits. And again, you know, there's a decent range of difficulties too, so you can definitely find one that's either like, yeah, I'm gonna come on, chill, cheese it, but make less money, or okay, I'm gonna proper stress on this and make a bunch of money and XP in the long run. And I love it for that reason. The fact it still gets updates, the dev seems to be so cool, you know, it's something I can't praise it enough for. On to the next one now. Here's a game which I'm pretty sure I've praised enough on this channel at this point, GTA 5. While I haven't reviewed it, the online and offline portion of these games are really good. Like, GTA 5's story, I think, it's not winning any awards anytime soon, it's serviceable, but I think what definitely is the strong point of the story mode is the gameplay, and like the way that they have those missions laid out, and the order and all the extra stuff is great. But if you ask anyone what the better half of GTA 5 is, a significant portion of them are going to say that GTA Online is where it's at, and kind of have to agree. Like, the fact that a game made originally for the PS3 and Xbox 360 is still getting updates on the PS5 of all consoles, you know, basically, I think it was twice a year at this point, and which is still, like, so good in content, man. They always keep me coming back for more. Like, they never miss with these content updates. I think, like, the one they released in summer was a bit, could have been better, but they keep my interest, and they're of such like a high quality. Whenever one of these things drops, it's not just to experience the new content, it drags me back all over again, and there's really no other game like that, unless you kind of want to say Payday 2, but I'm broke and can't buy DLC most days, so the fact that this DLC is free is just a godsend, man. And if you want to talk about godsends, let's talk about probably one of the best games ever made. Shenmue 1 and 2. Now, I can count these both as one game because they were re-released as one game, same as I did with the NONARY games. And god, these games give you a feeling like nothing else. Like I said, while everyone knows what GTA is, I think Shenmue is the long-lost predecessor to that game. Being the first open-world game, you, tasked as Ryo Hazuki, have to find out about the man who killed your dad to get revenge. It's a very simple plot, and the core gameplay loop consists of walking down these small Japanese towns in the first game and bustling Hong Kong cities in the second, basically just asking people for whatever you need, whether that be, you know, information about the day it happened, or kung fu things for some reason, so you can meet someone. It has a feeling like no other game does. Like, the soundtrack, the graphics, they still are like holding up really well for a Dreamcast game all these years later. And I think anyone who's especially played the first game will have you know, you might not even be progressing in the story, but you might waste like 3 hours in the arcade, for example. There's a lot of content in these games. I do still have the problem with my Shenmue 2 Disc 3, which crashes. Kind of hate that. But, you know, after replaying it, I definitely thought, okay, you know, I'll bump that up a bit, and I thought 3 was a good slot for both of these. Definitely good average. Seriously, do yourself a favour, play these games or watch someone else play them. They have, like, this atmosphere I haven't, you know, seen anything else do. And I'm coming up on the 2-year anniversary of me playing these games, and it just, I can't express it, but I'm sure a lot of people can agree. It hits all the right notes, and it's so good that it was able to get a third game all these years later. Moving into the top 2 now, probably to no one's surprise, I played a lot of Persona 5 this year. I completed it in about just over a week, ending on about 120 hours. And oh my god, if there's a game which has made me binge it, it's this one. I played this game as if it was my job. Like, I racked up 8-hour work days in this game, man. There's so much going on here, you know. I do plan to play Persona 4, but right now, oh my god, the story, the running around Tokyo and the dungeon crawling gameplay, the music, it all gels together to make probably one of the most addictive games I've ever played. And the comedy, you know, while minimal, really good. Again, I said this with Shenmue 1 and 2, it doesn't feel like anything else, and Persona 5, probably because it's the first thing in the RPG genre I've ever played, has that same feeling, just a little bit better. Has a lot more content than the first two Shenmue games as well, and it hits all the right notes. Seeing the year progress and the mood get from this kind of mellow thing to a bunch of upbeat stuff, and especially accompanied with the music, it is so good. Again, it has an okay plot. I think definitely the strong point of the characters. I like seeing those interact in the game. Those are probably the best part. But now I've announced my number 2. I think you probably all know what's coming. It's time for honourable mentions. I know we haven't brought these back for a while. So basically, how we do this is I'm just going to list the 4 which I think deserve it. So first up, Minecraft. It's a cool game, but I don't think it is an exceptional game like these lot are. Animal Crossing New Horizons, same deal. It would be on here, but it's not finished. Little Big Planet 2, got a game where you can still do anything, and people still manage to come up with new techniques to do anything all these years later. A wonderful game for level creating. And of course, I can't not mention the Ace Attorney trilogy and the Great Ace Attorney. It is. Playing the translation of the Great Ace Attorney by far is great, and the original trilogy, pretty much everyone I know agrees with, is super good. Well, with those out of the way, there's a certain game which I'm pretty sure most of you know what's coming. It's the game that restarted my review series. It's Sonic Unleashed. It's a phenomenal game. I have an 1.5 hour long review describing why I absolutely love the hell out of it, and genuinely I don't think the time I'm giving myself per game to try and sell it to you while it is, you know, my favourite game of all time, I can't do it justice. Go watch the review if you want my full opinion on it. But, you know, to summarise, you've got your day and night stages. I enjoyed the night stages, you know, I think the platforming and the combat is pretty nifty. The music does get repetitive, and the day stages are a blast, even if I may not be the best at them. You know, the side quests and the whole world and the graphics and the music, it comes together to make a game which I genuinely think, I know I've said everything else holds up so well as a game, but I think this game holds up really well in the sense that since I put this as my favourite game of all time all those years ago, considering all these games, which I'm sure some of you would argue, you know, are better than this, phenomenal games, you may not see those qualities which you think make those games so great in this game, I think it holds up so well on the fact that no other game seems to have topped it. When I was writing this list, I was getting very close to putting Persona 5 at the top, but when I compared things I didn't like about the games, I found something about Persona 5, I'm sure some of you can figure out what that is, irks me much more than the problems with Sonic Unleashed did. I know obviously though some people would argue it's the other way around and that I'm a lot more lenient towards this game, and yeah, rightfully so. I think I play the game more differently to how other people do. I'm actively looking for those medals, you know? I kind of enjoy doing it. But, you know, I can't summarise it. Like I said, go watch the review if you want my full, honest opinion. It was a blast replaying this on YouTube, especially the DLC after so many years of not having it. It's a game I can never seem to get enough of. I'd love for it to get a re-release. It is still, despite all these new games which you've seen enter the chart, my favourite game of all time. And with that, I want to thank you for watching. It's been one hell of a year, and the fact I'm trying to get this top 10 games out before the end of the day is pretty foolish of me, I know, but we'll see how it goes. I do hope you enjoyed. I have a lot more content to go make, so I need to wrap this up quickly so I can get editing and recording the Animal Crossing content before it gets too late. And yeah, genuinely, thank you for all the support this year. Let me know if you'd rearrange these games. You know, maybe just let me know if you've played some of these games, or if you haven't played some of these games, if you're interested, or what your top 10 are. I'd like to hear them. You know, I think it'd be cool to get some interactivity down in the comments every so often. And yeah, this runtime is definitely longer than it was meant to be. But thanks for watching. And with all that said, and all that aside, thanks for watching, guys. My name's been NONARY, and peace out.